Well, good morning and welcome to Elevenses. What's going on here? Just click the screen icon in your address bar. Right, okay, hopefully you can see me, you can hear me. I haven't got any viewers at the moment, which is slightly disappointing, but I did see that Kevin had looked in momentarily, but he seems to have disappeared. Anyway, I'm Kevin Williams. This is Elevenses, my twice weekly live webcast. We're running a few minutes late this morning due to technical issues, which I'll tell you more about in a moment. But first of all, on this reasonably sunny day here in London, we have again, we start with a couple of depressing stories. A 9-year-old motocross rider was killed in a freak accident in California. A Scottish boxing champion has been killed, dies after a motorcycle crash in Glasgow. Harley-Davidson, interestingly, are suing Next, the clothing manufacturer, for a copyright issue. More on that in a moment. A new law that has just come into the statute books could mean that fuel prices drop, but hold your breath on that one. An Aussie pair have been arrested for riding as fast as a speeding bullet train. The Dartford crossing has some closures scheduled, so be aware of that. Norton, there are pre-tax losses there to report. And if you want to buy a Norton, you can now have it in any colour you like, so long as Norton are happy with your choice of colour. Right. Okay. Anything else to say? Well, the CEO of BMW has cancelled the electric concept bike, but in order to talk up their internal combustion engine machines. They also have showed off their R20 concept, which I think is a hideous machine. Buell is back yet again. I won't get too excited about that until I actually see them. And finally, in depth today, we'll be looking beyond the basics. We'll be looking at counter steering in my 201 guide, which will look at quick steering, lean angle, and more. So plenty to keep you busy today. I'm just going to check that we're actually going out live at the moment. I should be able to see myself on the other screen. So yeah, there I am. It is all going out live. I don't know why we've got no viewers. Anyway, I shall carry on regardless. Now, the problems today, I guess it had to happen sooner or later. But there I was trying to get the show sorted out just before 9 o'clock, as I usually do, when the Facebook locked me out of my account. So there we go. Facebook, I'm banned on Facebook. Now, why has this happened? Well, it appears to be for suspended due to breaching community standards. Now, what was happening was I was setting up the show as normal at about 9 o'clock. The streaming software alerted me that it would lose connection to my Facebook account in 5 days. That's because it has to be reconnected. The permissions have to be renewed every 6 months or so. So I did what I've done at least half a dozen times in the past. I clicked the button which allows StreamYard to connect to Facebook. And then what happened next was that it said it failed. I went over to Facebook to post a manual message to the effect that the show was going out on YouTube, to discover that I had a message saying that my Facebook had detected what they called, I think the term was bad actor activity on the account, and scripting activity. And so my account was now suspended, and subject to appeal, it will be deleted in 180 days. Now, this is the bad news, because I have lodged an appeal. That's not the right picture. Oh, for heaven's sake. I have lodged an appeal against the suspension, but I'm not sure that it'll actually be honoured. This is something that has happened, I know, to other people, is that they have had a ban and they've been told that they can appeal, and sometimes it just doesn't get dealt with. Now, there's 180 days, but it seems that it's a one-off. It's a one-off action. You can't appeal multiple times. So if they ban you and then you lose your appeal, that's the end of days for your account. And that's the right picture that I wanted to show you. So yeah, you can read what it says there. It usually takes just over a day, but if it says that your appeal doesn't follow community guidelines, then your account will be permanently disabled. Now, as I've built up over 8,500 subscribers to my Facebook page, that is, to say the least, rather disappointing. Kevin says no TT spoilers. Okay. No, I won't be covering the TT today. So what's going on with Facebook? I have absolutely no idea. It's incredibly frustrating. It's not as if I do anything that really sits outside their guidelines. But as I keep saying, because of the issues with Facebook, I really, really, really would like some of those 8,700 subscribers to follow my advice and head over to my coffee page and follow me over there. At the moment, I have a fraction of that number. It doesn't cost you a penny, a euro, or a cent to view all my latest posts over on Coffee. And as a follower, you can get email alerts direct into your inbox when a new post arrives. Or you can do something even easier. You can head to my Substack newsletter. You can sign up over there. I've got about 500 people currently doing that. But as I said, that out of 8,700, that means that 8,200 haven't bothered. Head over there, sign up, just put your email address in. And then you'll get a weekly digest sent to you once a week, and then you can pick and choose what you want to read. But anyway, hopefully, fingers crossed, survival skills on Facebook will be unlocked tomorrow. I can't see that I've done anything wrong. Any complaints, direct them at Facebook, not me. I'm getting very, very fed up with Facebook. Anyway, moving on, the weather forecast. Now, for the next few days, we can look forward to fairly typical early summer weather, actually. Mix of sunny spells, patchy clouds, scattered showers, breezy, little cool for the time of year, and chilly at night. And the driest and the sunniest weather will be to the south of the UK. So today, showers will be most frequent in the northwest. There is a chance of some thunder, and it will be breezy. Thursday will be a very similar day, and once again, heaviest showers will be in the north. Friday could see longer spells of rain in the north, drier south again with sunny spells, and Saturday sees pretty much the same mix of wind and showers in northern area, with the best of the dry weather down here in the south of the UK. So that was easy, wasn't it? Just pack your rain gear if you're out on the bike. Christine's looked in. Good morning, Christine. Nice to see you here on YouTube. Right, so on with the news. Well, the first story again is an unfortunate report on a fatality, which involves another young rider. I reported on an Australian girl who was killed as a result of a crash in a competition last show. Now, this one involves a 9-year-old rider called Brooke Carlton, and sadly she died following a collision with another rider whilst racing at the Lake Elsinore Motorsports Park in California. After what was described as a freak accident at the motocross track, she was left unconscious. She was given first aid at the scene before the emergency services arrived and rushed her to hospital. The Riverside County Sheriff's Office has confirmed that the young girl has sadly passed away at hospital. The other rider was treated for minor injuries. And in Scotland, let me just get the right logo up. That's the news, isn't it? We're on now. The Scottish featherweight champion, Andrew Tam, 28, he was riding his Kawasaki when he was involved in a collision with a car just before 7 p.m. on Thursday in Cumbernauld. He was taken to the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in Glasgow, where he died on Sunday. Tributes have been paid to the Cumbernauld boxer who won his title last September. Now, on a somewhat more light-hearted note, or at least probably not light-hearted for those involved in the action, but at least for us reading it, Harley-Davidson, famous for once attempting to protect the potato noise of their running engines, is suing Next, the clothing manufacturer, in the High Court in London. Now, the US motorcycle manufacturer has alleged that a logo on a child's garment featuring biker angel wings infringes on its trademark. The company claims the piece essentially replicates the outline of its logo and also features graphic material and text, which is commonly seen in the context of a motorcycle-based branding, and more specifically the claimant's branding, and that it, quotes, gives rise to a likelihood of confusion on the part of the relevant average consumer. Now, Harley-Davidson has a range of casual clothing. A tank top, for example, retails for £49, and their jackets cost upwards of £200. The next garment, which is available for children aged 3 to 16, retails for a rather more modest £6 to £8.50. I would have shown you the trademark infringement, but I don't want to be chased up by Harley-Davidson's lawyers either. Now, almost as expensive as Harley's clothing is fuel, but the newly introduced Digital Markets Competition and Consumers Act came into force on May the 24th. Must have been one of the pieces of legislation hustled through as the government comes to its end, but it gives the Competition and Markets Authority new powers to monitor road fuel prices and report any signs of malpractice to the government. It's something I've been talking about here over previous months. Now, there are hopes that this new law will tackle price gouging at petrol and diesel forecourts. It's this practice of inflating retailer margins that is the problem. It's long been noted that when pump prices go up almost instantly in response to a rise in global oil prices, long before that fuel actually is ever delivered to a processing plant and sent off to the retailer, the suppliers and retailers are slow to reduce their prices when the wholesale market drops again in response to a fall in the crude oil. So basically, they take your money when it goes up and don't give it back to you when it goes down. Now, of course, any price drop is only likely to be a matter of a couple of pence a litre, and I will believe it when I see it. But if it should happen, as the ad says, every little helps. Now, over in Australia, 2 motorcyclists have been arrested and accused of speeding almost as fast as a bullet train. The 2 men are facing some serious charges after reaching almost 300 kilometres per hour on some of Melbourne's busiest road. A 23-year-old man is accused of reaching a top speed of 298 kph whilst travelling on the Metropolitan Ring Road in Thomastown. It was about 5 o'clock on April 14th, and he's charged with reckless conduct endangering life, reckless conduct endangering serious injury, and driving in a dangerous manner. And in a completely separate incident, a 24-year-old Sunbury man was arrested, allegedly speeding at 299 kph in Buell on the night of May the 15th, as well as pulling a 240 kph wheelie in a tunnel on the night of May the 10th. There's a red BMW motorcycle was seized at his home, and he's charged with reckless conduct endangering life, reckless conduct endangering serious injury, and driving at a dangerous speed. Right, okay, so there we go then. Both men appearing in court again in December. Now, if you are down here in the southeast and you use the Dartford crossing to get from A to B or even from B to A, be aware that it will be closed for urgent maintenance work at times throughout June, and motorists are being urged to plan ahead. The Dartford East Tunnel will be undergoing repairs to electrical equipment, and that will need to be shut to traffic. So presumably everything will be routed through one tunnel, and that's bound to cause big delays. Meanwhile, at the end of June, a full closure of the QE2 bridge is set to take place between Saturday, June the 22nd, and Sunday, June the 23rd. So if you're headed that way, again, it looks like it will be two-way working through one of the 2 tunnels. Now, closures of the A282 northbound are also planned throughout the month, This is to allow for painting on a steel bridge on the A282 junction 1A to protect it from corrosion. That work has already started and it will take place in multiple phases. So a spokesperson of National Highways says the work forms part of an extensive maintenance program to keep journeys at the Dartford crossing safe and reliable. Now, don't forget, if you've got any questions, anything you want to ask, I'm always happy to respond whenever I can during the show. And if I can't do it during the show, I will get back to you after the show. Obviously, not on Facebook today, so do ask away. I will get back to you if you possibly can. Now, at the end of last month, Norton Motorcycles reported pre-tax losses of £32 million. Now, you probably recall the Indian TVS Motor Company bought Norton from the receivers in 2020 and was following the collapse of the previous Stuart Garner era administration, thanks to fraud and mismanagement. Now, TVS inherited significant debt and difficulties, not least the need to completely design and rebuild the engine of their flagship V4, which is now back in production on sale. And TVS have been working to restructure the company by building up the research and development side of Norton, and they're also aiming to invest in new products in order to restore confidence in Norton brand. So good luck to them on that. But something they have offered in the last few days is the idea of being able to design your own color scheme. So this is the Norton's new one-of-one boutique service. You can basically personalize your new motorcycle. You can choose the colors, you can choose the stitching options on the saddle, and you can choose your accessories to, they say, really modify the base bike and make it your own. So you can pick your own color scheme for any of the 3 Norton models currently available. That's the Commando 961, the V4 CR Cafe Racer, and the V4 SV. This was all announced at the Bike Shed Motorcycle Show, which was a few days back. And Norton say what will happen is that you'll have a consultation and then they'll deliver you a digital render. If you agree with that, then the machine should be delivered to you finished and painted in your color scheme of choice around 4 to 6 months later. Just 2 catches. Norton say they will only take on color projects that meet their brand values. So that presumably rules out those sort of World War II style pin-up murals that people love to have on their petrol tanks. And there's no price. So I guess if you have to ask, you can't afford it, which rules me out then. And that brings me neatly to the next story. The more I hear from the top management of European motorcycle companies, the more I am convinced there is collusion in their statements on the future of electric motorcycles. And the latest to give us the benefit of his opinion is BMW Motorrad's new CEO, Markus Flasch, who has replaced Markus Schramm. Now, Flash has apparently shelved work on the Vision DC Roadster concept bike. This is it. I'll just give you a zoom in that so you can see a little bit more clearly. Move that down out the way a bit more. And he did this whilst showing off the petrol engined R20 concept. More on that in a moment. But what Flash told his audience was, he said there is a logical and emotional side to the answer. The logic side is when we looked at the facts and figures of the Vision DC Roadster, which is pictured here. It was pretty mature in its development, but it was just not competitive with something like the M1000RR by far. And then we looked at the way the business is going as well as competitors. We have 77% of the total electric bike market covered with our CE04 and CE02 electric scooters. So why would I invest BMW's money to build a motorbike to sneak into the remaining 23%? There's just no point in it, not now, maybe later. And he concluded, the emotional part is if you talk to riders, I did not find anyone who said I'd spend 300,000 euros on an electric motorbike to go around the lake or up the mountain pass. No one. And for sure, nobody would say I'm traveling to North Cape through Africa. Motorcycling is so much about freedom and independence. There's no point right now for an EV. Right, so What's to make of that statement? Well, the other side of the coin here is that however much Flash wants to persuade BMW's customers that petrol's the only answer for two-wheel transport, outside of the scooters, most motorcycles need neither that kind of power nor the range. And in fact, most motorcycles do not deliver anything like the performance of the 1000cc four-cylinder bikes that BMW makes. And the truth is, however much Flash likes to sort of suggest otherwise, the BMW M1000RR is itself a niche machine. It costs well over £35,000, which is far more than the €30,000 he was talking about just a moment ago. My guess is that they'll sell just a few hundred across Europe. So the argument that no one would spend a similar sum on a premium electric motorcycle really doesn't hold much water. Most riders don't want something so single-minded as the M1000RR anyway, and they certainly wouldn't be riding that particular machine from North Cape, South Africa. I can think of one particular overland rider who seems to specialise in doing it on bonkers bikes, but most people do it on something rather more sensible. So I think this entire argument is bogus. And it is necessary sometimes just to launch a product to see how it fares. There is a limit to what you can learn from market research and focus groups and looking at what everybody else is doing. So without putting a production machine on the market, how can BMW be so certain an e-motorbike won't find buyers? Now, it seems to me that if companies like BMW simply say, we'll stick with what I know, they're beginning to put themselves in much the same position as the British bike industry was right at the beginning of the 1960s when the first Japanese motorcycles began to appear. And we all know how that went. Right, okay, so moving on rapidly, let's have a look at the R20 that he was talking about. This is it. It's as I said, it's not a production bike. It is just a concept at the moment. Alexander Buchan, head of design, BMW Motorrad, says in a press release that the R20 concept is a bold interpretation of the BMW Motorrad DNA. It combines modern technical elements with a classic roadster design. Its oversized proportions and minimalistic aesthetic make it an unmistakable character. So it's a one-off, but it does apparently run. BMW has shown a video of the machine being ridden. It has lights and switchgear, although the exhaust pipes on the concept look dubiously legal. There is a bare minimum of rider accommodation, just that solo seat. And for some reason, which escapes me, the R20's shaft drive and power lever linkages are exposed and out in the open. But that engine, I just think it looks totally out of proportion with the bike. That's the view that the rider will see looking down. The necessary stagger to accommodate the opposed pistons just looks plain weird in this sort of ever bigger boxer format. I think more simply equals excess in this case. To my mind, it makes a lot of the weirder looking electric motorcycles actually look pretty mainstream. It's certainly not for me, that's for sure. So let me know what you think about that. I'd be more than interested to hear your views and whether or not you think this is anything like a viable motorcycle. Now, from BMW to Buell, who are, according to the latest press release, back yet again. The US bike manufacturers just announced plans to relaunch in markets outside the US. But don't get your hopes too high unless you live in Canada, because that's currently the only non-US location where the brand is set to reappear. Troy Devlin, the Director of Business Development at Buell Motorcycles Company, he says, we're looking forward to delivering high-performance V-twin motorcycles into the Canadian marketplace. The importation of Buell motorcycles into Canada will genuinely increase the recognition that Buell is back. Now, where have we heard that before? Okay, so don't forget, if you want something to read, there is the Survival Skills range of paperbacks. You can find those either at my publisher. Let me just pop the link up for you. It's going up now. There it is. or you can download them in a rather cheaper ebook format at my coffee shop. I believe that they'll all be a good investment to your riding. And if you can't afford a book, here's something for free. It's the Advanced Riding in 500 Ride, in 500 words. And you can download that without any catches, completely free, as I say, here on my coffee page. So while you're over there, take a look at some of the other free and inexpensive content too. There's plenty for everyone over there. Right, okay, now before we head on to the final item today, the in-depth, oops, that's not the right banner. I thought I got all this set up again. Counter steering I'm going to be talking about in my in-depth item today. So let's crack on with that without further ado. Now, last week I talked about the absolute basics of counter steering, explaining how a moving motorcycle wants to travel in a straight line. And what I looked at was the difference between steering, which is the input that makes the motorcycle change direction, what we do with the handlebars, roll, which is the movement the motorcycle takes as it progressively increases its lean angle from upright to or chosen lean angle, and then lean angle. And what that does is it makes the motorcycle want to follow a curved path. And the radius of the circle the bike will follow is determined by speed and lean angle. So for any fixed speed, we can turn tighter if we lean more. But if we fix our lean angle instead and change our speed, if we speed up, for example, we'll follow a wider line. So we need to know lean angle and speed to calculate how big a turn we're going to take. And I also covered the million-dollar question, just how we get the bike to roll away from the upright position to get our chosen lean angle. And we do that via pressing on the bars, counter steering. We turn the bars to the right to get the bike to fall to the left. So we push on the left handlebar and the bike will drop to the left. And we do the opposite. We push right and the bike will turn right. So counter steering effectively unbalances the motorcycle. And then I followed that off with some simple exercises that anyone can go and do in a nice empty open car park. So that was counter steering 101. Today we're going to look at something a little bit more complicated. And whilst I really do mean that it isn't complicated, I would still recommend that you review the in-depth item at the end of last week's Wednesday's show. So I put the link up for you there in case you haven't seen it. Go and look at the in-depth piece, which is in the last sort of 10 minutes or so of the show. Right, so last week you should have discovered, if you went out and did the exercises, that only a very gentle pressure is needed on the bars to get it to roll off the vertical. So what happens if we push harder? Well, the answer is simple enough. The more positive pressure we put on the handlebar, the more rapidly the bike rolls. So again, I've got my little model here and I can show you what I mean. So here we have the model. What I mean by roll is when the bike does that. So from the upright position, the bike achieves a lean angle, and it's this motion from upright to the chosen lean angle that I'm talking about, which means roll. So if we push the bar harder, then the bike will roll more quickly. A gentle push on the bar and the bike will roll slowly. A firmer push on the bar and the bike will roll more quickly. Okay, so since we get to our chosen lean angle more rapidly, then the bike changes direction in less space. We talk about that as quicker steering. So this is actually how we swerve. It's something modern riders have been doing to pass the Mod 1 part of the bike test for the last decade plus. And once again, so long as you've got a nice empty space well away from traffic or parked vehicles with a reasonable surface, it doesn't have to be super grippy, just consistent, then it's easy to practice. Or just remember what I talked about last time out. Grip tight with your knees, start at a modest speed, around 20 miles per hour is fine, and see what happens this time if you push the bars a little harder. Remember, it's not a big heave-ho, and we're not trying to push them round any further. We're just trying to apply a little more pressure so that they deflect a little more quickly. Now, build up this quicker steering gradually, and you'll soon find that the bike is changing direction actually surprisingly rapidly. Now, Many riders worry about losing grip at the front if they use quick steering. There's a lot of nonsense being talked about that on the internet at the moment. But the fact is, there is almost always enough grip for steering, a surprising amount of grip for steering. As Keith Code said in one of his books, no one ever lost the front through steering. Well, I'm always hesitant to say never, because sooner or later it does happen. But I'd certainly agree that there is a lot more grip for a surprising amount of positive steering input than most riders ever realise. If there wasn't, we'd never be able to swerve in an emergency, would there? So what happens if we push for longer? Well, it's another simple answer. For as long as we are applying a counter steering action to the handlebars, then the bike will continue to roll. So although it becomes increasingly resistant when we get to a big lean angle, this is essentially how we get the bike to lean over a long way. We just keep pushing on the bar. So try that as well, and you'll see that you get to a steeper lean angle. Obviously, be careful because you can run out of grip when you're doing this. Now, next question: how do we get the bike to maintain the right angle of lean for the corner? Well, the answer to this is that once we push the bars, the bike will lean. And once it's at the chosen lean angle, then we ease off some of the pressure. And this is where the interesting thing happens. The front wheel will actually swing back into the corner at this point of its own accord. And once we have the wheel pointed into the corner, then the bike will corner, as you'd expect, in the direction that it is leaning. So this is actually a fairly crucial point. As I say, it rarely gets discussed. So all we do to make the front wheel swing into the corner and let the bike turn is that we ease off the pressure that we're using to counter steer. So remember, if I said that we continue to apply pressure to the bike continues to roll, increasing the lean angle. Once we got to our lean angle, we just ease off the pressure. And again, if you are sensitive to what the bike is doing, you will find that the bars themselves will move. The front wheel swings into the turn. The bike now rolls around on that curved path at the lean angle that matches your speed and the radius of the bend. So we push to roll and increase the angle of lean. Then we ease off to maintain the angle of lean. That's the next point to remember. We still need to keep a reduced level of pressure of counter steering in order to keep the bike on a curved path. And again, the easiest way to prove that this happens is to try it out. And last but not least, a final insight for today: what about getting the bike to return to the upright position? So there you are, you're leant over into a curve, and how do you get the bike to come back to you upright? Well, the answer is that what you do is you stop counter steering, and then the bike, the front wheel, will straighten itself out, and the bike will stand itself upright. The bike is designed to be straight line stable, so it's very, very unlikely that we're going to need to counter steer in the opposite direction to get the bike upright again, even though some people do talk about doing that. The only time you're likely to have to counter steer in the opposite direction to the way you're already leaning is if you are actually in an S bend and you want to flip the bike from one lean angle right over to the opposite lean angle. So and this is because modern bikes are designed to be straight line stable. They come out of the factory with a steering geometry which ensures that they will recover from having the steering deflected. Maybe you've just hit a bump and that's caused the bars to wobble in your hands. Well, the fact that they wobble, the wobble will damp itself down. That's because the bike is straight line stable. If the front wheel is deflected by, say, a gust of wind, something that can happen on a very, very windy day, again, the bike will recover itself and go straight on. So we don't have to apply counter steering, generally speaking, to turn the bike upright. We just basically continue to ease off the pressure on the inside bar, the bar that's making us turn in the direction we want to go. Once we've released all the pressure, the bike will just roll upright. And again, the easiest way to try that is to go to your big off-road area and see it happen. Get the bike into a rolling round in a circle if you've got the space to do that, or just get it into a sort of a curved path, a slalom, and then just take your hands off the bars gently. Just lift them don't take them right off, but just basically lift them enough that you're not putting any pressure on the bar, and see what happens. The bike will right itself, and we control the rate at which it comes up right by easing the pressure ourselves. So as I said, modern bikes, they come out of a factory straight line stable. It is possible to upset this straight line stability by changing steering geometry. If you have adjustable steering geometry on your bike, for example, you can also do it by moving the forks in the yoke. Some people like to raise the forks through the yokes to make the bike steer faster, or you can change the other way around. You can use less preload at the rear. The bike will sit a little back rear down, and then the steering becomes heavier. So you can change the stability through the steering geometry. The tires are another factor in steering geometry. Some bikes just simply don't like some particular tire profiles, as I have discovered. And you can also change this straight line stability of the machine by shifting your body weight from one side to one side or the other. But that's something completely different. It's not an issue I'm going to talk about today. I'm assuming that you simply sit upright on the bike. Right, okay, so that's pretty much it for today. Next time out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at some practical applications for counter steering on the road. I'm going to show you how to use it, and I'm going to give you some hints on how to remind yourself to use it as you ride. So Kevin's just said being able to counter steer safely when accelerating or braking arguably needs practice if keen to avoid deviating from a curved path. In the event we overcook things or have to brake in a bed. Absolutely. This is why I talk about counter steering so much. There's so many riders who just trust to luck. I've started this whole thing off because two people said you didn't need to be taught counter steering. It just kind of happened as you rode, which I think is absolute nonsense. So yeah, go out and practice, learn how to counter steer, read a reliable guide, and I would honestly say that I believe that my guides to counter steering are reliable. I do have a written mini ebook on counter steering in my coffee shop, but you can always come back and refer to these items. And there, of course, there are the YouTube videos as well. I showed you a couple of those, or at least one. There was the counter steering 101 video, which is in the 60-second safety series. Right, now that is it for today's in-depth piece. Do remember, if you do need personalized help with any of this, you can get it online, and it's not expensive. I've had several people recently signing up for online coaching, and they have been mighty impressed with what I can deliver in a short period of time, talking face to face online. So anything is available. I can just simply send you an email if you'd prefer, and of course there's the on the road coaching as well, which will also, you can pick and choose what you want to talk and learn, and I will cover that. I won't simply deliver a standardized format of training which may not suit you. So right, okay, QR code, that's right, I need to put that up, don't I? So that's my coffee page if you want to become a supporter, or just a subscriber, or just a follower, where you just get, as I say, get email updates. Do pop over to my coffee page. You'll find everything over there. Do like and subscribe the, whoops, I've just held the button down. That was the coffee page link. Do like and subscribe the article, today's show. It really does help me, particularly with hassles I'm having with Facebook at the moment. So that's it for today. Time to wrap up. But again, thanks to everybody who's looked in live, either right now or is on catch up. And once again, apologies to anybody who has tried to look in on Facebook and hasn't been able to make it. I really do recommend that you watch on YouTube if you possibly can, because I have so many issues with Facebook, not least the current ban, which I hope will be rescinded tomorrow, but who knows. Anyway, don't forget to tell people about ELEVENSES, share the word, and we can get out with these articles to a lot more people. Anyway, if you're out there on the bike today, enjoy your ride, stay shiny side up, and then I'll see you next show.